In this video, we are going to go over this question that I found on Reddit. Now, this one is regarding Patran. I have these two surfaces. How do I merge them into one? So this is what I recommend. Use a faster tool to create your geometry, to edit your geometry, and to mesh your geometry. Now, I was there when I was out of school more than 10 years ago. I spent hours trying to figure out how to do this in a pre-post processor. How do you create surfaces? How do you edit the surfaces? And then how do you mesh it? But I don't recommend using a lot of these other tools to do this. I recommend using some newer tools for this. If you're using Femap, Hypermesh, Patran, or Abaqus to create, edit your geometry, I recommend using Apex. You're going to move a lot faster with your work. If you're using ANSYS Workbench, I recommend using SpaceClaim to edit and prepare your geometry for future meshing. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to take Apex, and here you can see that I have this geometry that is actually two separate surfaces. When you look at it, it looks like it's one piece of geometry, but it's actually two separate surfaces. So what we're going to do is the following. We're going to go into geometry tools, and what we're going to do is we're going to click and hold one of these edges, and then we're going to drag it. And here you can see it's actually a separate edge. I can just go ahead and select that edge and drag it to the next edge. And now it's one continuous surface, if you will. Now, how do we know it's one continuous surface? Before the shared edge is red, meaning that the edges are separate, they're not connected together. If you look at the outer edges, they're all red, meaning that these edges are independent, they're not attached to anything else. But once I do that drag, the edge becomes green. That means that it's a shared edge, if you will. Now, an alternative to dragging is the following. If you click on stitching, you can use the stitch option to just select all the surfaces. And now you can see that the edge is green. Let's go ahead and throw a mesh on this. And you can see that it only took me a few seconds to do this. It didn't take me hours jumping through all the menus and the options to do this. And this is what I mean when I go back to that first recommendation. Use a faster tool. If you're using Femap, Hypermesh, Patran, or Abaqus, consider using a faster tool to do this, like MSC Apex. If you're using ANSYS Workbench, consider using SpaceClaim. And what I'm going to do in the rest of the video is the following. Let me go ahead and delete this old surface. I really want to communicate what the benefit is in using a separate tool. Now, the good thing about MSC Apex, there is a free student edition. So if you go to Google and look for MSC Apex student edition, click on the first link, you get taken to this page. Click on download now. Here, click on register. And here, if you're a student, you would provide your contact information. And then at the very end, you would go ahead and upload a copy of your student ID, and then click register, and then you'll get a link to downloading your email. So here, what I'm going to show you is how to create that same geometry. So we're going to go ahead and sketch some surfaces. So here, maybe I'll click and drag here. And then I'll go ahead and click and drag here. And then I'll go ahead and jump out of here. And like I said before, all you need to do is just click an edge, or it doesn't even have to be an edge, it could be a vertex. So here, let's go ahead and click and drag a vertex. Now, everything that I'm doing on the screen would take you hours of work if you were using something like Femap or Patran. You don't want to be there spending hours or days trying to do these simple actions. You have a lot of stuff to do. And here in Apex, I can do this work really, really quickly. Let's go ahead and just throw a mesh on this. What I'm going to do is the following. I'm actually going to do a test analysis on this mesh just to make sure you can run it. So let's go ahead and create a material, Young's modulus, Poisson's ratio, and density. Now these are dummy values at this point. And then we'll go ahead and give a thickness to these 2D elements. So let's go ahead and assign this to this mesh. And we're done here. Let's go ahead and take this and we're going to go ahead and perform a normal modes analysis. And then we're going to go ahead and run it. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you do a normal modes analysis, you want to make sure that the mode shapes look reasonable. So let's go ahead and take a look at the mode shapes. Okay, you can see that the mode shapes appear to be continuous. That's what you want. That's indication that the mesh is fully intact, if you will. Some of these look to be rigid body modes. Okay, that's a bending mode. Okay, this mesh looks good at the end, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and output the bulk data file, which contains the mesh. Let's go ahead and download it here. Maybe we'll call it mesh A. And then here you would specify the unit system. We'll use meters, kilograms, newtons. And then we'll go ahead and go back to the model. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to export the geometry. So here, let's go ahead and use a parasolid. And then we're going to call this geometry A maybe. And now if I look at my downloads directory, I have two files. One of them is the geometry. It's a parasolid file, and the other one's a mesh. Now, the great thing about this mesh, a lot of the tools available out there like Femap, Hypermesh, Patran, Abaqus, even Ansys Workbench, they support the bulk data format. So what you can do is you can go to one of these tools and import the mesh, and then you can go ahead and create your loads, materials, and so on and so on. And this is what I'm going to do in Patran. I'm going to take that mesh and that geometry and I'm going to import it in Patran. And keep in mind, this minute is not even 10 minutes at this point, and I've already done a lot. Again, if you were to use some of these other tools, you're going to be there for hours or days trying to do very simple things. And the goal in the video is to get you through your work a lot faster. I've been there where you are, having to spend or rather, you're new to the software, you want to do things as fast as possible, so I wanted to create this video so it would help benefit you. So this is the mesh that we just imported. Let's go ahead and import the parasolid file. Now, one thing you have to be careful with here is the scaling factors. So let's go ahead and work on that. So import solid geometry parasolid. Here under parasolid XMT options, there's going to be an option for units. Here, let's go ahead and select none, and then we'll click OK here on the right, and then let's go ahead and do this import again. So here, let's go ahead and hide the mesh and then show the mesh again. So this is the geometry. I know it's a little confusing. So this is the geometry, it's in yellow. You see we have two surfaces. Let's hide the geometry and let's display the mesh, and let's show them on top of each other. So here we're pretty much done. I can now go ahead and do a formal statics analysis if I want. I can go ahead and create some boundary conditions. So maybe effect stand here, supply my fixed translations and rotations. I can apply a pressure or a point load. I can apply some materials, some properties. If I want to, I can delete the mesh and create a new mesh here in Patran. But the important part is the following. Again, for very simple geometry edits like the one requested in this Reddit post, you want to use a faster tool. Today I use MSC Apex. This is compatible if you're using Femap, Hypermesh, Patran, and Abaqus. If you're using Ansys Workbench, I believe Space Claim might be the one that's more compatible with Ansys. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching these videos, and I'll go ahead and stop there.